Right, I'm just going to say a few words about what I've added onto this rifle now to change it over slightly as a long distance sort of shooting rifle rather than a short range general purpose hunting rifle like what I have been using it for. So, what I've got this rather splendid IOR scope on it. I've already reviewed this thing. It's a 4 to 28x50. And I fitted it out with a nice sunshade that came with it in the box. It's mounted on tier 1 mounts, really good quality. And I put the Picatinny rail on top of my receiver. It's held on with 2 screws, and that's come from Steyr. And I also found this rather nifty bit of kit here that someone's selling on eBay. I think these look like they're made on a 3D printer. It's made out of some sort of ABS plastic. It's got 3 Picatinny rails, one there, one around the other side, and one underneath. And this has enabled me to put my Spartan bipod onto the rifle without drilling any holes into the woodwork. And fair dues, it's a really good way of fixing them on. You can still see I'll try and show it anyway. You've still got clearance, so it doesn't interfere with the free floating barrel. So you've still got clearance there between the barrel and the top of the mount thing, and it's a really clever way on fitting a bipod to an air rifle, because a lot of the ones with the wooden stocks, they have very little woodwork between the bottom of the rifle and where the air cylinder begins. So if you want to push your bipod out to the front to give you the most stable position, you haven't really got a lot of wood to deal with, and this is typical on an awful lot of air rifles, which means that normally they end up being mounted amidships down here somewhere where the wood's a bit thicker, where it thickens out. And that's okay, because it stops you running the risk of damaging the cylinder. But the further this way you go with your bipod, the less stable it is. The further out you go, the better it is, because then you form a much longer, broader baseline with you resting, doing a sniper's fist hold on the back of the stock. And the bipod gives you a much longer and steadier base for shooting, much more stable. So this little nifty little thing here, I think it was about 20 quid, 15, 20 quid, something like that, with post. Really, really handy little thing. Means you can push it. I mean, I've still got room to manoeuvre here. I could have moved out even further if I wanted. So that is a really useful little accessory to stick on your rifle. It's pretty well finished as well. I must admit, I would have preferred just a ring without these 2 side Picatinny mounts as well. But nonetheless, it's really handy. So now I've got this set up for long range shooting. Nice and stable, really good scope on it. Really good long range scope on it. And I've been having some fun target shooting out to 60 odd yards with this now. It's a right laugh. Fair dues. Obviously I wouldn't hunt out to 60 odd yards with it. Still sort of 45, maybe 50 an absolute push on a windless day. But for a bit of fun, to take it out to 65, and I have every intention once the wind dies down of going even further out with it. But it's really good. So there it is. Steyr Hunting 5, set up for a more sort of target shooting type setup really than what I normally have. I've done this because I've got the Pro X now that I use. That's sort of fallen as a primary hunting rifle now. So I thought I'd have a little play around with this and convert it in, set it up for a longer range target shooting. And in all fairness, I've had set up a little blind earlier on in the week, out on some stubble, and some rabbits coming out on it at like 50 yards. Set up a nice little blind, just simple thing, getting the corner of the hedge, and threw a bit of netting over the top of myself and my rifle. And this thing's absolute death to them. Using a rangefinder, you can dial the range in. Perfect thing for potting them off at 50 yards with headshots. It's absolutely murdered them. It's an ideal bit of kit for that. Obviously it's a bit big and bulky for walked up, sort of walking around the shoot hunts. So, but yeah, there it is. Lovely bit of kit. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.